Hi, my name is Ben Runyon for Audioskills.com. Today I'm going to be talking about making drum beats, specifically in Logic 10, but this is going to extend itself to other digital audio workstations. If you have any interest or questions about my music teaching or my music itself, please go to benrunyon.com. That's BenRunyan.com. Let's get started. Today we're working in Logic 10. Now there's different audio workstations like Ableton Live and Cubase, and even things for iOS like GarageBand or Core Gadget that can be very, very good for making drum beats. Now, in this particular case, I'm just going to take Logic for example. And in Logic, there's a few ways to do it. So let's get started with the most preliminary when it comes to MIDI. In Logic, I'm going to go here to make a new track, and I'm going to select Drum Kit Designer. Now, what we're ultimately going for here is an instrument called Drum Machine Designer. For whatever reason, directly from this list, you can't select it. So we first have to select Drum Kit Designer, which extends itself more to a acoustic drum palette. So as you can see, something like this, right? Makes sense. Once I've selected that, I can go down to the channel strip setting here. I can click on the little drop-down menu part here, and I can find Drum Machine Designer hiding down here. Why they have it set up that way, I don't know. Nonetheless. So when I pull up Drum Machine Designer, I'm going to get what looks like a typical drum machine or drum rack or whatever you really want to call it. And I have all these different slots to put in or record a beat. And so there's several ways I could do that. Now, on a drum kit, assuming you have a keyboard connected or are using something like this virtual keyboard, the bottom of the drum kit always starts on C1. So it would be the letter A in this case, or on your keyboard, C1. Right? And I have these different samples here. So it could be as simple as, and let's check my tempo first. I'll lower that. I could hit record and try to noodle something in here. I'm going to hit stop there. I'm going to get rid of my musical keyboard here. I'm going to get rid of the drum machine here for a second. I'm going to pull this guy back to bar 1. I'm going to turn on my cycle from either here or just clicking on it here. And what's the first thing you notice? It is extremely sloppy. That's where a technique called quantization comes in. And ostensibly what quantization does is it's going to fix the timing in my drum machine pattern here to the nearest 16th, 32nd, 64th, 8th, 4th, whatever I set it to. So I'm going to double click on the MIDI track here. And I'm going to select all my notes. I can either click and drag in the empty space over top of the notes. I could click in here and hit Command A to select all the notes. And then over here I have my quantization setting. So like I said before, you can have it 16th, 8th, 32nd, and how strong it's going to do that. If it's 100%, it's going to do that totally. If you do it to a 16th or 50%, you can see the notes drifting a little bit like I initially played it in. So when I hit the Q, it's going to knock things into place. And let me just show you what that looks like again. Let me unquantize it. Hit the Q, boom. Got a perfect beat in there now, at least as far as a 4-to-the-floor beat's concerned. Then here in Logic, in my editor window here, I've got two tools. The left one is the right click left click, or your regular click on a mouse or on a trackpad, I suppose, in my case. And your right click tool. When on a Mac, you hit 2 fingers. On a PC, there's a right click probably depending on your laptop, or an actual right click on the mouse that you have. So I'm going to select my pencil tool because I want to draw in some hi-hats. And using the piano roll over here, I can preview sounds. Let's see here. Looking for the open hi-hat. None of these are the open hi-hat, are they? Oh, hell. I'll just go with the closed hi-hat. So I can enter in information here manually, and right now I'm just putting it on the offbeat. Oops. Command Z is your best friend there. And as you can see, now I have a beat. Now, here's the thing. I don't really like that sound kit, really at all. So I want to use my own samples in this case. Okay? So there's a few ways I could do this. I can either A, click on that, And then I can drag and drop samples directly from your file browser, whether it's Finder if you're on a Mac or Windows Explorer, whatever it is on a PC these days. You can drag it directly in. So I have a service set up called Splice, where I have a subscription to this website where I can download samples. So I kind of like that. So let me grab that guy. I'm going to drag that directly on here. Now let's listen to my beat. And what's great about Drum Machine Designer here is I can adjust the pitch. And I really do not like that snare. Let's see if I have a better snare somewhere in here. That's definitely not the snare I'm looking for. That's a whole loop. That's kind of like a trappy one. Let's find something else. All right, I kind of like that. Let's fire that up. I'm going to drop that in here. Okay, cool. I like that. Sounds a lot better. Pretty neat little beat there. So that's Drum Machine Designer, and that's one way to do things. I like that way a lot. That's generally how I start things. Now, there's a second way to deal with these things, and that's directly with audio. So let's see if I can remember what that drum was called. SGH Kick 20 and Snare Clap 808. I'm going to find that kick again. And this time, instead of doing it via MIDI, I'm going to drag it in via audio and see if I can achieve the same thing. So let me just get it in my arrange view here. And then what was the name of that? Clap again. So I'm going to call it 808 clap. So let's search again for that. 808 clap. All right. So now I'm going to mute my MIDI channel here. And I'm going to deal with this in audio instead. So let me zoom in here using my trackpad, and I'm going to get rid of these windows. And it's 4 to the floor, so I know what to do with that. Holding down the Option key here, by the way, when I copy these notes if you're in Logic. Now, one thing I'm noticing is it's going to the... It's jumping around in a weird way. Let me zoom in and get that directly on the beat there. There we go. And do the same for here. Okay, I like that better. So let's see here. Oh, dummy me. That's what we're looking for. I was doing the halftime there. That's all right. So you can see me make mistakes too. All right. Boom. Easy enough. Let me turn that down, because as I'm going to get into a later video, you want to gain stage correctly and not mix yourself into a corner, if you will. Okay? So I have that. That's obviously going to go on the 2s and the 4s in the case of a dance beat like I had. Turn that down. Now, in my beat, I had a blap, blap. So it was boom, ch, boom, ch, boom, ch, bop, bop. So that's going to go here, I believe. But as you can see, that's bleeding into the other notes. Let me pull that back. Let's see what we got. Cool. So let me mute these two, and let me unmute my MIDI. Now you can hear that I had pitched the kick down in the MIDI version. And just for the sake of this tutorial, why don't I grab a hi-hat as well, a closed hat if I can. Let's just type in hat in here. Not that one. Fine, good enough. So let me pull that in. So it's going to be bounce. So that should be in between there. Perfect. Now I know what to do. And if I'm lazy, I can select all these notes. Oopsies. By the way, up here in the bottom or top right is your zooming functions. Always good to know. Or you can use your trackpad, which I tend to like a lot. Let me do that. Try that again. There we go. That should do it. That should do it. Let me get rid of the extraneous one. All right, good enough. Cool, so that's making a beat specifically with audio. And I'm gonna show you one more way in this tutorial, in the specific case of Logic, and that is called Drummer. So I have my audio kicks here, or I'm sorry, my audio parts here, and I've got my MIDI parts here for a drum kit. And let me clean up my session a little bit. Now I'm gonna create something called Drummer. I'm gonna hit plus sign here. A dial-up drummer. Now, drummer is crazy, crazy cool, and I use it in a lot of tracks. I edit it a lot, but I'm not ashamed to say that I use it. I love using it. And basically what it does is it's kind of this getting started engine with drums that kind of randomizes things based on a genre, and then you can kind of, with different XY pads and settings, kind of adjust the drumming beat. It's like an auto drummer, if you will. So since I was going for a 4-to-the-floor beat, let me just go straight electronic here. So I'm going to hit electronic. I'm going to hit create. And it's going to pop in this yellow frame of audio/MIDI. It's kind of a hybrid audio MIDI track. It's kind of really, I guess, none of the above. And I'm going to cut off the tail end of that using the scissors tool. And by the way, when you want to use your second tool, you hold down Command on the Mac. All right, get rid of that. And you can see it's literally already made basically the same beat, although it's got some, different fill on the end of it. Now, if you look down here, basically you've got this XY parameter of a simple beat versus a complex beat and a soft beat versus a loud beat. So let's just kind of deal with extremes for a second. And you can actually see it changing over here, the audio. Can't even hear it. Versus the exact opposite. And then you can control how much fills there are. So you see the end change here where there's not much that fill. Then the really cool part about that is, let's say that's a little too standard for you and you wanted to do something with it different. You can right click on it. You can go to convert and convert to a MIDI region. And now you have those same drums, but this time in MIDI. And then, like we discussed in the first part of the tutorial, you can select the drum machine and change out the samples. So let's see. Let me just randomly put in that. Let me put it on all the hats so I don't really remember which one it was there. Sounds kind of silly. But for what it's worth, that's 3 different ways that you can make a drum beat in Logic. The first one was straight up with MIDI. The second one was using different audio tracks and dragging in the samples manually. And the third way was using Logic's tool called Drummer. My name is Ben Runyon for audioskills.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.